Echoplex Media, boo.
I'm white, and I've got everything I need. No one clutches their purses when they're in a room alone with me. And I can drive through any neighborhood I please at any hour, and the police don't do a thing. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got everything I need. I'm a guy getting paid more than a girl with a degree. And I can walk down the streets after dark, no one wants to rape me. And I can get a girl pregnant and just as easily flee. Just like my straight white male dad did to me. So if I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. I've got a pile of broken mirrors and I'm walking under ladders and I'm spilling tons of salt, but to me that doesn't matter, cause my skin and my gender and my orientation are the best things to have if you live in this nation. I recommend it highly. I see a penny on the ground, I leave it alone and fucking flip it. I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need. Shit's gonna work out for me, cause I'm a straight white male in America. I've got all the luck I need.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Intellectual Dollar Tree. We do the show live every Wednesday on Twitch at 7 p.m. Pacific. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. But tonight we started at 8. Sorry about the late start. Live viewers had some internet trouble, so that's just the way things go. You can support this project at echoplexmedia.com. Just click the support tab and you'll find your favorite way. My favorite is always the merch, but you can make your own decisions. Anyway, I'm producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr. And I guess happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Here's an interview with Steven Pinker.
You can't get at the truth if there's some things you can't say. We're a fallible species. We're riddled with biases and fallacies. The only way that our species has managed to discover anything about anything is that some mortal people...
What is going on with the light in this video?
Say what's wrong with it, and then the best ideas survive.
Welcome to Heterodox Out Loud. I'm John Tomasi.
Man, lay off the fucking equalizer on the mic. Jesus Christ.
President of Heterodox Academy. On every episode, we'll be taking you on an exciting intellectual journey, an adventure across the complex and challenging terrain of opening.
Oh, this is we're gonna check out the Heterodox Academy going forward. This is terrible.
You'll be meeting some
intellectual journey,
some heterodox college presidents, and some entrepreneurial students too. Our aim is to give you an insider's view of the complex terrain of open inquiry in higher education, the perils and the possibilities too. So let's get ready for another adventure into heterodoxy.
Does academic freedom need
to
have a defense team on campus? Today we'll be talking with a cognitive scientist, Steven Pinker from Harvard. Steve is a founding member of Heterodox Academy and an active member still. He's also a founding member of the Council for Academic Freedom at Harvard. Let's see what Pinker has to say.
Steven Pinker, welcome to Heterodox Out Loud. Thank you. It's nice to have you here in New York. We just finished
what on earth are they doing with the audio?
Seminar with you, talking about some of your new work. It's great to have you here in the center with us. Thank you. I want to talk with you about a number of things, but I want to start by talking about the Council for Academic Freedom at Harvard. And last spring in April, you and a colleague, Bertha Madras, published an op-ed in Boston Globe. They got a lot of attention. A lot of us around the country read that op-ed with real interest and enthusiasm. Can you just tell us a bit about what led to the formation of the council and what's going on?
there are nationwide problems with our
Bold of them to record their interview in a fish tank.
universities. There was a widespread impression, to a large part correct, that universities, rather than be crucibles of ideas and debate, are like medieval seminaries subforcing dogmas, and there are certain statements for which you can be censored, ostracized, fired, punished, and that universities are therefore forfeiting their mandate of being places where society gives people the mandate to
So the idea that a university is just a big debate club is like a really dumb idea. Like that's like sort of baked into this, that like that's what you do at a university. You just debate things. There are times when you're going to have differing opinions and there's going to be interesting discussions about it in certain classes about certain things, sure. But most of the time you're there to learn. You're not there to debate. Like, it's not a fucking Twitch politics panel. It's a fucking university. I hate this stuff.
You can't get at the truth if there's some things you can't say. We're a fallible species. We're riddled with biases and fallacies. The only way that our species has managed to discover anything about anything is that some mortal people venture an idea, others say what's wrong with it, and then the best ideas survive. If you disable that process by making some ideas punishable, then you're guaranteed to lock yourself into error, and you forfeit the reputation of the university. And I'd have encountered people, intelligent people, who will respond to my saying, for example, that we have to have climate change because a overwhelming consensus in science is that human activity is warming the planet. And they reply, well, why should we trust the consensus? Because everyone knows that in academia, if you challenge the consensus, you get canceled. That's right. So even when the academics...
Right, but that's because... okay, so like check this out. Like if you challenge... Okay, you can challenge, I suppose, but like the problem is like Steven Pinker is a linguist and he's in like the liberal arts or whatever, which is a fine thing to be involved in. But like I don't give a fuck if Steven Pinker challenges the consensus about climate change. It's not his field. He hasn't published on it. None of what he says is ever going to be subject to peer review. And I think he even believes in climate change. He's just using it as a weird example because of the tribe he's in.
Almost certainly correct. As they are in greenhouse gases warming the planet, we have lost all our credibility because of this culture of cancellation.
That's kind of said that we've been following this at HXA about the decreasing trust in universities. There was a Gallup poll you always saw.
You guys have Heterodox audio. Who the fuck set up the sound for this? I mean, they legitimately sound like they're underwater.
Summer suggested that over the past 20 years, trust in higher education has cratered, cut 47% to something like 28%.
Oh, the majority of people think that universities are harming rather than helping the country. Yes, which is remarkable. And which is, we think, I mean, it's driven by a number of phenomena, such as exponentially increased tuition, but a large contributor to the creation of trust in universities is often the viral videos and the accurate stories of students and professors being punished often for saying things that are true, such as there are two sexes.
Of course. So they're fucking 4 minutes in.
And that drove one of my colleagues, Carol Hooven, out of science, despite the university's self-proclaimed goal of enhancing participation of women in science with an aim toward equity. But if you're a woman who says they're two sexes...
Was she just saying, like, that's the thing is, like, I don't know the story they're talking about. Is that what she said? Is that all she said?
We go. That may have was one of the last straws. It wasn't the only one. There are other cases of mobs rising up to denounce a professor because they found that several years ago he signed an amicus brief to the Supreme Court against gay marriage. Another professor had his course canceled because it evaluated the efficacy of counterinsurgency techniques in combating gang violence. There's a long list of things that could...
like nobody cares about that. Like who got canceled for fucking writing a thing about counterinsurgency tactics and gang violence? That sounds like an interesting thing to study. I would imagine maybe some of the editorializing the person did about gang violence might have been the problem, not necessarily the work. but this is just my guess again. Like these are just like little like micro anecdotes where we would have to like go look up each one of these things and try to figure out, like try to suss out what the fuck actually happened.
A law professor at Harvard who was defending Weinstein, I believe, or something like that.
That is right, who was...
Ooh, speaking of professors, friends with sex pests, little Steven Pinker here was good friends with Epstein, even after the first conviction, the first trial.
He was posted as a residential dean because he was defending Harvey Weinstein, even though our constitutional system says that every defendant has a right to defense. The alternative being someone gets jailed because someone else says he's guilty. We obviously don't want that. So we failed. It's not just the harm done to...
But like the question here is like, was that law professor generally practicing law, or was that law professor not really taking any clients and then Johnny on the spot to jump to the defense of Harvey Weinstein? Like again, like it would take us fucking 30 minutes to suss out what the fuck happened and what he's talking about here.
Consultant, calling a law school, but it is an abrogated a responsibility to educate students on how things work, such as the fact that if you have a criminal justice system where all it takes is to accuse someone to convict them and they don't get to defend themselves, then you open the door to untold horrors. History tells us that. Other comparisons to kangaroo courts in our repressive autocracies tell us that. And so for Harvard faculty member to defend Harvey Weinstein, as loathsome as he might be, is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It shows that we've got a functioning criminal justice system. If students protest the mere fact that a defendant has a criminal defense attorney, there's something deep that they don't understand about principles of justice.
And can I say something?
God, what just happened with? The audio just went.
Those kinds of moments when students would say something like, "We don't want the law professor in our school defending someone we think is evil and wrong and should be punished." That we used to call it a teaching moment. It's an opportunity to explain to students what the judicious work for that adversarial system means. But there seems to be something new on the block in the last 10 or 15 years, for students who hear those teaching moments discussions, they stick with their view. They don't back out.
Well, the thing is, it's up to teachers to identify and take advantage of teachable moments. They're not called learnable moments; they're called teachable moments because they open up a world for teachers to teach. But we haven't been doing that. Well, all too often, the administrators have done the opposite of new skills and opportunities. They have basically kissed the student's ass and asses and said, "This makes you upset. Okay, well, we don't want you to be upset."
What I want to push you on a little bit is this, and it's something I've noticed, and I'll give an example. New York City Police Commissioner Ray Kelly gave a lecture at Brown University, and which a bunch of students and some people from off campus came to the lecture and they shouted him down. It was one of the first big public shout downs. And when the students who organized that shout down were confronted with the fact they violated the student conduct and said they'd done the wrong thing because they prevented other students from listening and so on, when they're confronted with those facts, the new thing on the block, in my view, was that the students stood their ground. They said that there are reasons for, if you wouldn't cancel this lecture, we're going to cancel this lecture. This speaker puts students of color in danger's way. We have an obligation above your lectures, above your ideas, that justifies us in doing this. And that seems to be something new on the block now. There's sets of ideas that have grown within universities that I think justify some of these actions of students. Does that seem right to you, or is this something?
By justify, you mean really does justify, or that is acceded to as something that is not opposed but ought to be?
I think there's a challenging of the fundamental principles underway. And in the case of those groups of students of Brown who stood proud to say we shouted them down and we would do it again, some of them referred to Marcuse. And there's an essay by Marcuse in 1967 of repressive toleration, in which he talks about the need to defend the oppressed, even against the advocates of free speech and toleration. That toleration and neutrality are masks for power. And there's this critical theory idea that a lot of these liberal ideas of free speech and toleration and neutrality are simply masked for power.
This is old. It's the the paradox of tolerance, right? It's like the idea that like if you tolerate everything, like no matter what, then people who are like intolerant will eventually be able to gain power and gain a foothold. And then now the tolerance that you seek is gone.
New generation is to unmask those things and to tear them down.
Oh, yes. So I agree that that is widely believed. And I think it's a pernicious belief. It's not a belief on which our universities are founded. It's not written into the procedures of our universities, into principles or an autocracy. Marcuse was a Marxist, or he took Marxism in his own new directions. But that's not the society we live in, and I'm glad it isn't. And there are good arguments why it shouldn't be. Namely, how do we know that what Marcuse is saying is right? Why should we shut him up? Why shouldn't we shut up the students?
Well, because you can't shut him up. I mean, he said this stuff a long time ago.
Who are arguing before
good luck.
Marcuse. The fact that they think they're right is not a good enough reason, because I think I'm right. So do I get to shut them down? And the answer has to be no. No one gets to shut anyone down, to shut anyone up. Ideas, including that one, can be voiced, but they don't carry the day when it comes to silencing their opponents. And in the case of the police commissioner, it's another case in which voicing heterodox opinions is not just a case of a prerogative of a professor or an arcane point of principle. It's not like the famous case in which the ACLU defended the right of Nazis to march in the Jewish community of Skokie in the late 1970s, that we may find the content preposterous or even repugnant, but we defend their right to say it. There are, in the university today, many of the opinions that are being repressed are probably true. In the case of saying what the New York East should do to the New York police, New York reduced its homicide rate by 75% in 8 years. That's that was an awful lot of black lives saved who would be dead if it wasn't for them. So that's
whoa. So the police chief can't take credit for that. This was during a time where like the homicide rate, like nationally, was going down dramatically. Violent crime was going down dramatically. The police chief didn't do that. He may have done things to help. I don't know. May have not done things to help.
Far from reinforcing oppression or racial oppression, this saved more black lives than all the protests put together, what he did to induce gang violence.
Whoa, dude! Yo, come on, Steve. I mean, whatever. Like I expected him to talk about this in any other way.
Or at least he ought not to be repressed if what we care about is the well-being of minority communities. And you don't know whether it will be beneficial to them unless you hear the case being made. Things that you can argue against that.
I'm wondering whether there's something new in universities that we can identify. You've taught at Harvard for a long time. How long have you been at Harvard?
I've been at Harvard for 20 years. Before that, I was at MIT for 21 years. And before that, I was Harvard and Stanford. So I've been an assistant for a whole long time.
And so, and yet the Council on Academic Freedom was founded just this year in April 2023. Why then? Why not before? Can you explain? I mean, I follow these things we know about the rise of this. Do you diagnose what's happened?
Oh, it's about way worse. I mean, just as an objective fact, there are far more firings, censorings, sanctions for content of speech in the last 6 years than there were the period beforehand. Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression is documented.
I mean, do you have this is a data guide? I mean, during like a conversation like this, you can't expect him to bring the data. But has he published this anywhere? Is the data for this somewhere? Were people not getting fired? I actually think tenure is kind of stupid. In the idea that like a person who works at like Old Navy or whatever can get fired for not folding the clothes right, but then like a professor can just while out, and we're like, well, they have academic freedom, and it's like, well, aren't they at work?
Obviously, Woods University. So the answer to the question why now is it's gotten worse, and in the timely development that was fortunate for us for propaganda reasons. It wasn't the impetus of council. The fire published its rankings of free speech 5 out of 248 universities.
Yes.
Harvard came in last place with a score of 0. And that moved up the score of 0 because they decided not to go into negative numbers.
Now, I didn't know that negative numbers part.
Yeah, but who did the survey and what were the parameters? How did they? How did they do this? What survey is he talking about? Is he talking about his own survey from this organization that he's part of?
Next year, who knows?
We have something to aspire to. That was helpful in answering the question that you just asked, like, why do we need this at Harvard? And believe me, it is a ranking that we call to the attention of our new president and our new dean in saying why we are needed. What we hope to do is, first of all, just make people aware of the value of free speech in the university and just why we have it, what it is, why it's necessary. To enforce policies that are already on the books that prevent the harassment or punishment of people for speech, to come to the aid and support and succor of people who have been targeted and then ostracized, which can be emotionally devastating, to when, as so often happens, there are activists who are yammering to the ear of a dean, pressuring them to do something. We're going to yammer into the other ear. So at least
didn't the president of Harvard just get fired for? But I guess that's different because she's black.
Have to think about what's the right decision rather than just making the trouble go away by trying to placate the racist objectors. And we hope to encourage student groups that have a parallel aim and groups at other universities. Harvard has we get asked the question, who cares what happens at Harvard? We're just a university.
I mean, it sucks that lady who is the president got fired over some bullshit, but like in the end, yeah, who cares what happens at Harvard?
No, first-hand experience, a tendency to think far too much of ourselves, but for better or worse, the world cares about what happens at Harvard. And so we feel a responsibility to capitalize on that possibly undeserved attention, but at least to make something of it.
Well, I think it's a wonderful thing. One of the lines from the op-ed that really struck me, you in Madras said, quote, "Academic freedom needs a defense team."
Yes.
And that was a really striking line.
Also, this does actually relate to my own specialty of cognitive psychology, where one of the reasons we need free speech is that people are fallible. We're saddled with these brains.
Yeah, but like the antidote to cancel culture is generally just apologizing.
With fallacies and biases. Foremost among them, the motivated reasoning, and we steer our reasoning to a conclusion that we wanted to be true in the first place, and the my side bias, or we can call intellectual tribalism. That is, we favor whatever position makes our coalition look good. Now, these are psychological phenomena that mean we should be incapable of discovering truth. As it happens, our species has discovered some truths. We figured out, DNA, solar system, galaxy, and brain science, and plate tectonics. How do we manage to do it, given that each one of us is so saddled with biases? And the answer is we form communities in which one person can criticize the idea of another.
And do you think the students and faculty members who are skeptical of free speech, who are behind some of these campaigns to fire people, do they deny the things you just said? What do you think? When I said before, why is it happening now? And I said, why form this council now? You answered, because those problems have been rising now. But I guess I think what I mean by that question is, why are the problems rising now? Is there something happening that you diagnose why the need has arisen then?
Yeah. So in terms of root causes,
that way.
There are a number of candidates. The country, of course, has gotten more politically polarized. Some people blame social media, echo chambers, filter bubbles. But another possible cause is residential and social segregation by education. Increasingly, people with higher degrees of education hang out with one another in urban centers.
Oh, yes. Social stratification via, maybe we'll call it perceived intelligence or education. Yeah, that's new. That never happened before. What the fuck?
Towns, people with less of an education live in the outer suburbs or rural areas. And the institutions that used to cross social classes, which more and more now leads educational classes, like army, like churches, like service organizations have weakened. So people just are in social circles where everyone thinks and feels so.
I'm thinking of Charles Murray's Coming Apart,
Ooh, Charles Murray, you say. Charles Murray, you say. The bell curve guy, Charles Murray, you say.
Controversial thinker, all the see the reason what we just touched on, but that's one of his main theses, right? They were divided as society based on that factor you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So that's what contributing factor.
Yes, contributing factor. There's also some legal
So real quick on Charles Murray, the podcast where Ezra Klein spoke to Sam Harris about the issue with Sam platforming and basically fangirling over Charles Murray was actually really good because Ezra Klein managed to put Charles Murray into context that Charles Murray isn't just some random academic publishing, books about social stratification. He has been advocating for a policy that would kind of enshrine the ideas of the bell curve into like national policy to like stop things like affirmative action and to stop any like programs for basically the poor who he thinks are poor because they're stupid, because they don't perform well on an IQ test or whatever. So that's like the Charles Murray. The problem with him isn't necessarily his poorly done academic work in the bell curve. It's more that you can't separate it from the rest of his career as a person advocating for policy that comforts the comfortable and afflicts the afflicted.
Had been perhaps unintended consequence of restricting speech, such as the criterion of a hostile climate for Title IX, that it can be actionable. You can sue a company or a university if not just if they're overt acts of discrimination, but just if the climate is unwelcoming to women or minority groups, sexual, racial minorities.
Well, wait a minute. How would if it wasn't like through people's behavior, how else would the climate become unhospitable to women or minority groups? If it wasn't like, what is it? Just fucking they have the thermostat set wrong? Like, what does he mean? What do you mean the climate's hospitable? But it's not due to anything anybody did. Well, then how the fuck do you create a hostile work environment if nobody did anything to create the hostile work environment? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Obviously, if it's shown that the work environment is hostile to women or gay people like me, or, black folks, or, Asian folks, or whatever it may be, people are clearly doing things to cause that to happen. It doesn't just fucking materialize.
And that opens the door to all kinds of policing of speech which contribute to climate.
At work, yes. Again, like this guy, they want to separate the idea of being a professor or working in academia from the idea that it's a job. And that fucking kind of bothers me, like a lot, actually. Again, I go back to like customer service workers. You think the person working at fucking McDonald's has free speech? Oh, hell no. They'll fire you for not being fucking cheery enough. Like, get the fuck out of here. This is like some elite. This shit is so elitist.
There's the burgeoning bureaucracy supporting the climate, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and the mushrooming bureaucracy in universities of bureaucrats empowered often to clamp down on speech or to apply filters such as diversity statements and job applicants to wean out people who don't conform to a particular ideology and a particular set of factual.
Oh, but you just copy and paste that shit. I've talked to a couple academics who have had to do diversity statements or whatever, be it to apply for a grant or to apply for a promotion within an organization, for any number of reasons. And you know what they do? They copy and paste that shit. That shit is boilerplate. You don't got to write it. This is dumb. This is dumb as fuck. This is like getting mad that you got to dot your I's and cross your T's.
There were intellectual kernels back from when I was a student in the 70s, such as Herbert Marcuse, and the idea that speech and knowledge are actually just pretexts of the powerful to suppress other people.
Well, the argument there is that they can be used that way. Ideally, they wouldn't be used that way, right? That like speech and knowledge would be the great equalizer in our society. And I mean, to some extent they are, but in other ways, maybe those things are used to maintain a broken status quo. That's the argument there. I don't know if that's Marcuse's argument specifically, but that's like the basic argument, is that these things aren't always, they don't always work that way, because they can't, because they don't exist in a vacuum. Speech and knowledge don't exist in a vacuum outside of the society in which you speak and learn things.
Wedded to postmodern epistemology, there's no such thing as objective truth. There's no such thing as
postmodernist. I'm sorry. This is just, I hate when they do this. Postmodernism is not the rejection of objective reality. That what they're describing is basically delusion. Postmodernism is basically the school of thought that came after the modernist school of thought, and it is skeptical of some of the aspects of modernism, but brings some of the aspects of modernism along with it. Some of the things that it might be skeptical of, or some of the things that a postmodernist might be skeptical of, might be even grand narratives like Marxism.
Objective truth, all the reasons that I gave for the encouragement of freedom of speech, namely that's the only way we can attain the truth, go out the window. There's no truth to be attained with just warring dogmas, and let's just make sure that our dogma has more muscle than the other person's dogma, and free speech has nothing to do with it. And so the ascendancy of those ideas, particularly the academic humanities, means that they're kind of congenial to repression of speech. There may be there is an external exogenous cause that you can identify that perhaps once this idea took hold, started with Socrates, and because academics can hire their own, out of the point of the realm of academia is prestige. What is prestige? It's the Professor X saying Professor Y is okay, Professor Y saying Professor X is okay, and there can be a self-reinforcing system.
But how else? How the fuck else would you do it? Would you just fucking have the fucking neighborhood vote? Like, what are you talking about, dude? That's how any organization and bureaucracy is going to work. It necessarily has to work that way. This guy's been fairly successful in large bureaucracies that work that way. That's how he got to be famous.
Bubble really in challenge beliefs,
or even a targeting of certain ideals or departments that he would try to turn in a certain direction to make these ideas more prominent. Maybe I have a theory about prominent for example.
Yes, and it can be self-reinforcing, as they refuse to bow, refuse to admit going into submission anyone who disagrees. So the idea, once having gained a toehold, might pig over because of the lack of external inputs to the intellectual content of scholarly inquiry.
When you and your colleagues launched the council at Harvard, you mentioned a report from 1990 of the Harvard Free Speech Guidelines as a touchstone for your ideas, and you quoted from the very beginning of that. I have a copy of that right here with me. You quoted from the very beginning of that report, where the report writers say, quote, "Free speech is uniquely important to the university because we are a community committed to reason and rational discourse. Free exchange of ideas is vital for our primary function of discovering and disseminating ideas through research, teaching, and learning. Curtailment of free speech undercuts the intellectual freedom that defines our purpose," defines the purpose of the university.
Yeah, and it's not just because, we like being free, it's fun to be able to say whatever you want, but there is a rationale, which we've spoken about this conversation, namely, that's our species' only means of attaining.
In the same report, at the very end of the report, to section 7, they recommend the creation of something they call an advisory committee on free speech. And they suggest that there should be formed at Harvard some kind of a student, I'm reading it now from the report, quote, "A student faculty advisory committee on free speech should be established by the faculty council. And the purpose of that committee would be, they list two purposes: to discuss ambiguities which may arise in applying the guidelines of free speech through time, and also to introduce these values to new generations of the university community," which are ideas that I think in an op-ed describing the rationale for the creation of the council are similar to these ideas. But was there ever an advisory committee for free speech formed in 1990 or before the council?
Not that I know of.
I've never heard of it.
Yes, no, and we weren't panels to serve that function, but that's, in a way, that is what we're stepping into. And very few people are aware of this policy, which was voting on fact is binding, and it is something that we can point to. We might need to just updating it, but it means that even though as a private university, Harvard is not subject to the First Amendment, but if there is a policy, then the policy has to be followed or changed.
And so,
But like, how do you make a free speech policy? I don't understand. Like, this is a workplace. Like, people pay a lot of money to go to Harvard. Some of the professors there make a lot of fucking money. Some of the administrators make a lot of fucking money. This isn't like a fucking like a men's club where they get together and have a scotch and talk about the issues of the day. This is a place where people are trying to gain value out of, you know, they spent money, or maybe they worked really hard and got scholarships and got accepted, you know, and like, this is not, what do they think a university is supposed to be?
when the council began last April, there were 50 members. But HXA has always been proud to say that Harvard was, for many years, the place where they had the most members. 53 members of the Harvard faculty are HXA members. But not every member of the council is an HXA member. You are, for example, your co-author, Bertha Madras, is not current. I'll have to call her after this.
Yeah,
We have a good side, not on the official side. But so you started with 50, you've grown.
Yes,
It's been remarkable.
We're 160, perhaps.
And is that faculty?
Yes.
So that's a remarkable achievement. So 160 Harvard faculty are joining into this council.
Yeah, it's still a minority, and there are kind of age and sex and discipline gradients. Which
Age and sex. He means old men. Age, sex, and discipline gradient. Oh, he mean old men. That's who's on this panel.
Like to level.
Can you describe what those are?
More older faculty than younger, more in the sciences and medical school, also the humanities.
Interesting. Interesting. Can you say anything about
out of that? What did he say? 160. How many women? How many black folk?
Well, so by far the humanities are the source of certainly of the postmodernist mindset that eliminates a war.
Well, to be fair, philosophy is in the humanities, so any school of philosophy is generally going to come out of the humanities because that's the umbrella under which philosophy is like.
In attained truth and there's no such thing as truth, and that is more likely to see any kind of discussion of criteria of argumentation, of reasoning, as just pretexts to power. So naturally less sympathetic. But also there's another association that we take pains to avoid that is in people's minds, and that is between free speech and the political right. That's right. I think there are very few people on the council would identify as conservative. There are a couple, and that's because
whether or not you're like conservative isn't like your decision.
Professors who identify as conservative, or at least the ones that are all in their 90s, which itself is a problem, as I don't have to tell you. Yeah, we thought all of all people. But of course, in academia, as I put it, the academia is at the left pole, just as when you're at the North Pole, all directions are south.
Academia is not at the left pole. This is just stupid. I feel like these are a lot of people who, maybe in the 90s were like liberals or whatever, and then the world passed them by. And as I get older, man, I just hope that doesn't happen to me. I really hope that doesn't happen to me. I mean, if I think someone's wrong or whatever and they're to my left, I'm going to say they're wrong, but I'm not going to suggest to you that the reason that they're wrong is because they're to my left, right? You can have any belief system and be wrong, or have a dumb idea, or be advocating for things that are wrong, stupid, or harmful, but it wouldn't be because they're liberal, or that because they're too far to the left. In fact, I think for people out there studying their if we're going to do the fallacies thing, that is the ad hominem fallacy. You are X, therefore you are wrong, right? So, Mr. Pinker, you're supposed to be like a deep thinker and a rationalist. So you should maybe stop employing the ad hominem fallacy I'm just saying that these people are all crazy because they're too far to the left. You could say they're too far to the left and they're crazy, I suppose, but then you'd have to tell us why they're crazy. And if the only reason they're crazy is because they're too far to the left, well, boom, that's the ad hominem fallacy. Sorry, friend.
All directions are left. Are right, I'm sorry. In the left pole, all directions are right. And people who are classical 60s liberals are now thought of as conservative.
Yep, that's called time marching on. Yes. Yes, a lot of people who would have had what we thought of as liberal ideas in the 60s were homophobic, deeply homophobic. The hippies, for example. Oh, it was free love, but not if you were gay. So we would think of those people as homophobic, socially conservative today. They were socially liberal then, but times change, baby. It's been 60-something years since the 60s.
Standards of modern, progressive, intersectional, critical theory, social justice, politically correct ideology, the trap. Now, there's also the fact that the threats to academic freedom from within the academy largely come from the left, whereas the threats from outside the academy largely come from the right. So largely in southern states of Florida and Texas. But when it comes to academics censoring academics, it's these are left-wing academics, and it's censored before a bit less left.
And so in your experience at Harvard and MIT and before at Stanford and other places, these trends of ideological conformity on the political dimension, political axis, they've been getting worse and worse. At least the imbalance is growing worse and worse. Is that part of the explanation for why this eruption of anti-free speech behavior is happening on campuses?
Yeah, I think so.
So the other thing, and I don't want to actually, I'll boil it down to its simplest version. Me telling you that you should shut the fuck up is nobody's free speech has been violated. That's just more speech, because I'm allowed to tell you that you should shut the fuck up. If I'm not allowed to tell you that you should shut the fuck up, then boom, now my free speech has been infringed upon. So the question here, and it's been the question since we started the Intellectual Dollar Tree when they talk about these issues, is like, at the end of this fucking road, apparently somebody has to shut the fuck up. And I hate to be the one to break it to these geniuses. That's not going to happen.
Also, there's another point that I make in our op is that free speech is cognitively very unnatural. It doesn't serve to people. It needs constant defense. Otherwise, we backslide into orthodoxy. Because what is natural, this is well established in cognitive psychology, is the people on my side are self-evidently right. The people who are on the other side are spreading dangerous falsehoods. Therefore,
but you're operating under the assumption that nobody even thought about any of the issues, right? You just reflexively think that because people are in your tribe that they're right, and like this takes away everybody's agency. It's like, well, we're the only ones thinking about stuff. Well, this guy's got a tribe too, right? This guy's got a tribe. His tribe is like fucking Sam Harris, and formerly, probably not anymore, like Brett Weinstein. I bet this guy probably would tell you that Brett Weinstein's a crank. But when Brett Weinstein was just running around complaining about being canceled when he resigned from his job and then fucking sued them and got $500,000, this guy was all hunky-dory with Brett Weinstein. This guy's tribe is, as he said, probably people like Charles Murray. And he generally, I think he thinks that those people are self-evidently right, or that he's thought about it and has decided they're right. I don't know, pick your fucking poison there. But it's not like other people haven't thought things through. Now, when they talk about the students and stuff, some of these people are 19 years old. They're going to be more impulsive. I know I was a lot more impulsive when I was maybe under 25 or under 30, right? So this sort of mixing up of this stuff is got to be on purpose, because I don't think these people are dumb.
Society, we have to shut up the people who are obviously incorrect and immoral. Now, of course, the people on the other side say the same thing with side switch. And if you a little bit of wisdom, if you can dislodge yourself from your own vantage point and look down on yourself as a human being.
Oh, but that's like the concept of going clear in Scientology, essentially, where you can disabuse yourself of basically yourself. That's what they say once you've fucking gone clear in Scientology, right? That you've like rid yourself of your reactive mind, and now just your like analytical mind is taking control. What he's describing is Scientology.
Hey, I'm not an angel, and I do believe these things, but they're wrong. How will I know I'm wrong unless I hear other opinions? But that does require a campaign of persuasion, which I think we've been remiss at doing. The old arguments for free speech are ones that have been built, and no one bothers making it anymore. Now we're trying to change that, and it is changing.
I mean, but I mean, like, according to that argument, we should all be arguing with flat earthers, that we should just be trying to persuade the flat earthers that the earth is a fucking sphere. Like, at some point, we have to, like, decide, sometimes we're going to get it wrong, too. Oh, my God, sometimes we're going to get it wrong. But at some point, like, to move forward in any, like, endeavor, you have to kind of, like, be like, well, this is this thing, and now it's time to move on to the next thing. Sure, people can go back and revisit the first thing that you figured out, but like moving on from it and being like, well, we kind of figured this out. That's great. Otherwise we'd still be trying to reinvent fire.
There's a sense that scholarship is in some sense an unnatural practice. That good scholarship, we're actually thinking about ideas, checking our premises, challenging ourselves, is not natural to human beings in all kinds of ways. You much rather go with the root growth, especially when it comes to scholarship that meets the idea of disinterested truth that may not be your current pet beliefs. Richard Feynman had a famous saying that above all in science, you must not fool yourself because you are the easiest person to fool. So knowing that bit of meta-awareness of oneself as a fallible thinker, which doesn't come naturally, but when that comes naturally is, I'm obviously right. And it looks right.
Like, hold on, the process of science isn't that individuals manage to remove their own personal biases from the work they're doing. That's fucking stupid. The idea that in science is that we test hypotheses. Sometimes over and over and over and over again. So the idea is that the testing of the hypothesis over and over and over again by different people will hopefully eventually you'll get to a theory, which is, people think everybody here knows that's different than I have a theory. It's like, this is like a true thing. That's the point of the sciences. The point of science isn't to, like, for me, the scientist, to remove my personal bias and figure it out. That's fucking stupid. That's like an overly individualized version of what's supposed to be going on here. It's a very, very neoliberal idea, and it's just not how the fucking cake gets baked.
Inside my skin, it was the cognitive leap to get out of my skin that makes me create space for people who disagree with me.
One of the things that when Alpha came out, there was a bunch of responses. Obviously, people were extremely interested in what's happening at Harvard and what motivated the group of you to do this. One of the really striking pieces that I read in the wake of that was an op-ed published by the Crimson editors it was kind of lukewarm, I might say, that might be generous, a little bit critical, I think, of the announcement, surprisingly enough. And you may not remember, it's probably lots gone by since you published that piece last spring. But I wrote down a couple of things that the editors said. They called out a line that you just mentioned a moment ago from the op-ed, where you invert that says something like, when activists shout in the ears of the administrator, we will speak critically, calmly, but consistently and forcibly in the other ear. And the editors of the school paper, they called that out. They said, activism and academic freedom should be seen as allies, not enemies. Which does come an interesting point, Matt. What do you make of that idea that activism and academic freedom should be thought of as allies rather than adversaries?
Well, in practice, they could be allies. In practice, they often have been adversaries because the activists who are trying to shut down the people who disagree with them. So obviously not all activism. And many activists have also been free speech advocates. Martin Luther King and many others.
Wait, what?
A straight of stooped activism.
Martin Luther King was like, I have a dream that one day no one will be fucking canceled. What the fuck is this guy talking about?
Part of the activism is to shut down the people who disagree with it, or to bully and coerce deans and presidents into knuckling under and acceding to their demands, which all too many presidents and deans have done, because we think it hasn't been an adversarial process of someone speaking to their other ear, right? Saying, this is another contributor to the phenomenon. As universities, the phenomenon of weakening of free speech protections is that it's often been noted that the university has become more corporatized. The person in charge, the president, often has not been a vanguard of university values, but rather of university image and bottom line. How we take our donors, how we stay out of headlines. In fact, it's been remarked that it's the chief counsel who really runs the university, not the president. And I've been shocked at how weak-willed and to which we flabby the responses of university presidents often has been to these pressure campaigns, rather than saying, "Look, just because this is your crusade doesn't mean you get to get your ways to have to persuade others. No, you can't scream obscenities into a professor's face if there's something that he says that makes you uncomfortable. No, we don't have the right not to ever hear an opinion that makes you feel bad." Basic.
But you do have the right to talk back. Yeah, you can't scream at the professor. Yeah, that's fine. But what if the professor is like being a shit to the students like Peter Boghossian did? Like Peter Boghossian claimed he was like canceled. Well, Peter Boghossian also fucking, you don't know this about him. He used human subjects in some of his work without going about it in the right way, the right ethical way, according to proper guidelines. But also, like, after he resigned and claimed he was canceled, people came out and were like, what a pain in the ass he was to work with. And it's like, well, if you're a pain in the ass to work with at most places, you get fucking fired. So I don't know. I just don't get it again. This has nothing, like a lot of times when these people lose their jobs or whatever, it has nothing to do with their academic work. In Boghossian's case, it did. Because he was, again, using human subjects. It's not like he was doing science experiments on them in like a sort of like a scary movie kind of way, but he was using human subjects. And you have to abide by a bunch of guidelines if you're going to do that. And he decided not to do that. And that's part of the reason he was probably asked to resign. But then again, after he resigned, everybody was like, that guy was a pain in the ass. And so, okay, the human subjects thing was his academic work, but that wasn't free speech or any academic freedom. He was actually violating some of the rules, I would say, that allow academic freedom. And then, like, it's actually not academic freedom to just be a giant shit to everybody you work with at the university. Like, that has nothing to do with academia or academic freedom. You're just being a giant shit.
Grown-up discourse. But the presidents and deans haven't made them, partly because they just want to make trouble go away as quickly as possible, partly because they've been often promoted from the ranks of their have the administrative competence. They've previous ability. They presently chair a department in some particular field, but there's no selection for ability to think clearly of the mission of the university in the 21st century. Why we have a university, how ought to run this more custodial management, increasing the endowment, keeping out the negative headlines.
And so that corporatization of the university, it seems like yet another factor, where we're collecting factors, you and I, that might be explaining why these things are happening. One might be an increasing demographic drift towards an ideological conformity across the faculty.
What?
Another is a set of ideas rising from a new generation of students, taking some of these Marcusean points and postmodern points.
Like, I'm guaranteeing you most of the people, even people in academia who are doing the things they're calling Marcusean, I guarantee you like a fucking 2% of those people, if that, even know who the fuck Marcuse is. Nobody knows who this is. I had to find out who it was because all these people keep talking about him.
Seriously. And now there's a third piece, perhaps, something like a corporatization of the university and the role of the university president. On that last point, is that a new phenomenon? I mean, haven't presidents always been sort of weak-willed, or am I not thinking of that correctly?
Yeah, I shouldn't. I, of all people, should not be too nostalgic about the past. they used to be highly outspoken university presidents, of which John Silber may have, longtime president of the EU, just have a deliberately outraged people may be going too far. But Robert Hutchins, University of Chicago, and
Bob Zimmer,
University of Chicago.
Who stands out by contrast, class? Who stands out?
Quite right. But the age of university presidents as public intellectuals, I think that the heyday of that was decades ago.
That's not their job. The university president is not supposed to be a public intellectual. They're supposed to be a highly effective bureaucrat. That's their job.
I recently had Palma Canales on the show, who is the president of the University of UATX, to talk about some of these early struggles they had with our announcement and some of the controversy there were.
So UATX, that's University of Austin, Texas. That's Barry Weiss's university, I believe. Because I believe that would be the University of Texas at Austin would be the public university from the University of Texas system. So this is like Barry Weiss's university, where I famously made a meme that said, University of Austin, if the faculty here was good enough for the kids at Epstein Island, they're good enough for your kids too.
Involved in very early on. One of the interesting developments at UATX that I've been following, that I'd love to get your take on, it concerns this novelty that they're developing recently, over the past year, I think, of not waiting for the virtuous president to arrive and fix the university, but rather to try to develop an institutional structure that protects free speech. Have you followed the Judicial Council idea at Austin?
Yes.
So this university, if they're interested in free speech and like heterodoxy it doesn't just mean you have a bunch of fucking weirdos who are crying about free speech. If they're really into this idea of having like a broader conversation, do you have any lefties over there? Got any lefties over there? Any Marcusians at this university? Or is it all just fucking people who cry about cancel culture? Because that's not very heterodox at all. That's just a different kind of orthodoxy.
I think that is a valuable innovation.
And so let me describe it for our listeners who may not know it. So one of the ideas at Austin is to have a set of basic rights and freedoms established in a kind of a constitutional structure. And then the innovative feature is to have a quasi-independent judicial board or a judicial body that any complainant who feels that his or her free speech rights or due process rights have been violated can take the complaint to that board, and that board can override the president's decision, override any policy at the university, because it's defending the rights. So it's separation of powers based on the American founding.
Yes.
Let's just create an even more elephantine bureaucracy at a university. That'll fix everything. Just have the galaxy brain panel that can override everybody.
Find that Neil Ferguson came up with that idea, as I understand it, and whether they adopt it fully is yet to be determined, I think. But it's kind of
this is also dumb too, because you think that the president of a major university doesn't convene advisory panels about specific issues like all the fucking time. I would assume that's part of their job as the head of a bureaucracy, would be to get input from different panels and different groups of people within the organization to try to make the right decision.
Idea, it suggests that what it shows me is that every university in the country is sort of saddled with a situation where we're all relying upon a virtuous president to arrive and to stay virtuous despite all the counter-incentives. Austin's taking a different approach of building in this institutional structure. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think that's that is a truly constructive role of startup universities, is to expand our mental universe of governance structures and everything else in the universities, because universities have gotten locked into a particular...
Yeah, but this is the kind of university that would have a fucking like ethics and game journalism 101 or something. This is like the fucking IDW MRA university. Like, it's so bad, and they're not like, they keep talking about it like it's like a university. It's like they're not. It's not what we think of as a university at this point. It's like a vanity project for these weirdos. Even Steven Pinker himself left. I think he left though because people were making fun of the university because too many of Epstein's friends were on the faculty, and he was like, well, he's like, I really don't like it when people talk about this. So I'm going to go ahead and bow out.
Model of governance and everything else, partly because they all are part of this kind of or reciprocally grooming community where the criterion for so-called excellence is just the subjective judgments of other so-called excellent people, and we can get
that's actually that. How else do you do it? The judgment of excellence is going to be based on the subjective like fucking opinions of like other people who other people think are excellent. That's like what the fuck else are you gonna do? God gonna come down from the fucking sky and just decide who's excellent? Like unless you have like some kind of autocracy or some kind of like thing where, well, my dad was the president of the university, now I'm the president of the university and I get to decide. Like how else would you do it?
We have funny if a bunch of people all saying how everywhere the others is prestigious, and anyone who disagrees is not prestigious, and you keep them up, they're not up to our standards. So some way of just breaking that.
But all they're trying to do over there at the fucking University of Phrenology is to create a parallel system that does the same thing based on the values of people are being canceled. It's just it's the same thing. It's just that you agree with the opinions of the people there as to who is excellent. And again, this guy's whole career is built on other people thinking that he's excellent.
Breaking into that crystal, that bubble, have some kinds of checks and balances that we do have in the legal situation. I think it's a great idea. And others. I think I did have some criticisms, and Bob Zimmer, who's also on the board, also was only around the same time. I remember. I think they are, I'm more sanguine about it, both because I've been, the rot of the legacy universities has become more apparent to me recently, and any alternative ought to be encouraged, but also because I think they have been dealing with some of the initial growing pains. I think one of them is you must not allow the idea of free speech to be conflated with the political right. That they stacked it much too much with the right way figures. I think that providing a kind of lifeboat for canceled academics is not the same as building a program of the best possible academics. That's right. I think the problem with all startups, educational startups, is what to do about science. That I don't think you can be an educated person in the 21st century without science. How do you attract the smartest students? Science needs labs. Labs need a lot of infrastructure, government grants, committees for the protection of human subjects, animal subjects. So there's the problem of how you provide a science education without having to replicate a lot of the apparatus in the establishment university.
Yeah, it's certainly financially it's a formidable undertaking to start in the university, especially a great university like they're trying to do.
Maybe in partnership with the science faculties of nearby universities. But anyway, I do wish that and I've been involved in other startups like the New College for the Humanities in London. My friend Steve Costin ran the Minerva project in San Francisco. So I think it's good for there to be competition. I think they're good to be alternative models to try out.
Nice. I want to go back to the Council on Academic Freedom and talk a bit more about what you're doing there. So Harvard launched the Council for Academic Freedom in April. Heterodox Academy, a month or two earlier, started organizing a new initiative of campus communities. So as you know, we're a membership organization with one of our active members, with now over 6,000 professors all around the world who share these values. We're a growing organization. One of our innovations over the past
this Heterodox Academy is just like I said before, this is just another kind of orthodoxy. They just want like what mainstream academia thinks are like bad ideas to be like put up on a pedestal.
Start gathering our professors on campuses together into communities. We call them communities. You call yours a council. We will probably be working on a network that connects various councils and communities across the country and beyond in the near future. I'm just interested in the kind of activities your council might undertake. And I read the op-ed last night in preparation for this interview, and you were just beginning it. But I found 5 different activities that you mentioned in that op-ed as things the council might undertake at some point. I'll just read them out as I read them. Mm-hmm. So among the things the council might do, you said, include workshops on academic freedom, orienting new faculty to the importance of free speech at Harvard. 3, adopting and enforcing policy.
This is also really interesting because the backdrop of all this is that the university president at Harvard was fired for not basically clamping down on pro-Palestinian, anti-Likud government protests.
Academic freedom. 4, providing collective support for individuals who are targeted for protected speech. And 5, during moments of crisis, speaking to the administrators other year, and calmly, deliberately, and forcefully, as you put it. Have you begun any of these things? What's happening on campus? You started. You've been building.
He's like, have you done anything? He's like, nah.
I just want to really emphasize is that you were able to go from.
This guy accidentally just asked a really good question. He's like, have you done any of this stuff, or are you just taking interviews, friend?
To 160 within a half a year, is truly a remarkable and newsworthy accomplishment. Beyond the building the numbers, what have you done to build the numbers? Teach
He's
me.
like, we're still at the raising awareness part of this. The action phase, who knows?
We did have a lecture on academic freedom by my colleague.
Oh yeah, we had a lecture. No, we're asking if you did anything.
Oh, nice.
For faculty? No, open to community, and that we plan to have one a semester. You had that last spring, or
We're gonna have somebody give a talk once a semester.
And so was that it was for the purpose of people understanding the importance of free speech, of course. Was it also a recruiting tool? Were you thinking of it that way?
Indirectly. We don't, since we are academics, we want to go beyond just saying, free speech rocks, or free speech. But what is free speech? And it isn't just free speech in the sense of you can shoot your mouth off about anything, but also a culture of civil discourse. And that's one of the things that...
But what about the uncivil parts, the nasty parts of the discourse? Like this bothers me too, because I am, probably to the detriment of my channel, especially to the detriment sometimes of this Intellectual Dollar Tree project. Sometimes I'm the nasty part of the discourse. Is that a problem? I'm not fucking threatening anybody. People talk about Twitch terms of service being pretty strict. I'm not getting kicked off of Twitch, not getting any little no-no notes from Twitch, but I'm the nasty part of the discourse. So this is like fucking, this is that Reddit shit basically, where it's like tone over payload, where this guy's like mostly concerned with people's tone. So if you disagree with him in the wrong way, or in his case, if you mention that he was still friends with Epstein after Epstein's first conviction, oh well, that's uncivil discourse. Now I've blocked you, and he will. If you're still on Twitter and you were to go tweet at him, and be like, hey, sorry about your buddy Jeffrey offing himself. Ooh, he gonna block you in 10 fucking minutes.
Emphasize his lecture. And that was another one of our aims, that you should be able to have a conversation over matters in which you disagree without calling the other person a bigot or...
But what if, no. What if I talk to somebody about something and I'm like, oh shit, I think you're a bigot. Then what? What happens then, Pinker? What happens then if I've had a discussion with somebody or consumed enough of someone's material maybe to form an opinion about their character, and now I express my opinion about their fucking character? Now we've got a fucking problem?
So, sir, so you used the word civil, then you used the word constructive. Those are different things, right? We can have, isn't our aim in the universities have a special kind of speech? It's not just free speech for any purpose. There's reasons why the First Amendment protects all kinds of speech. Speeches that's intemperate, sometimes false, misleading, all kinds of speech can be protected by the First Amendment. But at the universities who care about a certain kind of speech that is aimed at pursuing truth, the civility,
but that's actually again the heart of the matter here is that, like, we don't. you can't just fucking keep rehashing, like for example, like phrenology. You can't just keep rehashing the idea of, can we measure somebody's skull to determine if they're the superior race? No, you can't. And people feel that way about like something Steven Pinker is a fan of, is his race IQ shit. People feel that way about that. A lot of people do. And a lot of people who've done a lot of work, like sort of studying a cognition and the way that we perceive the intelligence of others. Like a lot of people have done a lot of work on that. And I think the jury's in on that shit. But so it's okay if Steven Pinker wants to talk about it, but that doesn't mean anybody has to take him seriously. And if every interview you bring up Charles Murray, or you bring up like IQ differences between racial groups, well, yeah, eventually somebody's going to be like, fuck, I think you might be a bigot. And then now what? Now is the conversation over, or is the free speech, did the speech stop happening? Are we not allowed to talk about that?
How important of a value is civility?
Yeah.
Is it the season's destructiveness? I'm not sure.
It's not identical to it. It's arguably a means to the end, in that since it's the ideas that we're pursuing, but we are primates, and we inevitably engage in dominance contests and aggressive displays, that kind of get in the way of pursuing the truth. So to the extent that we keep it civil, which has its own virtues, but that is also a way to make sure that these primate dominance displays don't get in the way. Now,
but what if I think it's uncivil to be racist? Even if you do so in what you believe to be a polite tone, what if I find that uncivil? What if I'm at a dinner party or in a class or at a meeting of, if I'm the faculty at a university? I mean, we don't want that, right? I'm kind of a jerk. I'd be cool. The kids would love me, but I'd be probably the worst faculty member. That's like that scene in Ghostbusters where he gets fired, where Venkman gets fired from the university. They're like, your hypotheses are stupid. Your work is subpar, and your conclusions are highly questionable. You're a poor scientist, Dr. Venkman. And he's like, but the kids love me. I'd be that guy. But what if I'm in a meeting like that, and these people, the people in the meeting, are just talking like shit about gay people? But they're doing it in just such a polite way. Maybe one of them even has a fucking pocket watch. Well, I still find that to be uncivil. What now?
Right, emphasizing they're not the same, because at some point you don't want to be so civil that it's just rude to disagree with someone. And as we well know,
That's right.
Even academic debates that we don't want to discourage can get, as I say, heated. They can get personal. There's nothing that we're going to be able to do, about that in terms of legislation or policy. We can pass a law saying you've got to be nice. I think that's something more that Heterodox Academy can foster and encourage. But when it comes to kind of policy and enforcement, they're obviously very hard to enforce.
Let me just say that HXA, we have something called the HXA way, and set of norms, that cultural norms we want to encourage in universities. Being nice is not one of our norms. It's fine to be nice. We try to be nice people.
I think being nice to other people is generally a cultural norm. If you don't know somebody, I think the people here, people that listen to this podcast, and the people watching my live stream, if you don't know somebody, you're gonna be nice to them. Why wouldn't you? Life's a lot easier if you do that. If you're cool to people.
So this is enough. But among the norms are things like make your case with evidence.
Yes.
Show some humility.
Yeah.
Be where you might be. All those kinds of norms that again are compatible with sometimes kind of tough conversations. I've heard many and been involved in some myself that are in the heat of the conversation trying to make a point. You don't always defer. I remember when I first arrived to Brown, we invited Martha Nussbaum. I invited Martha Nussbaum to give a talk, and I was talking to an older colleague at the time, and I said, so who should be the respondent to give critical remarks to her paper? And the respondent, who was a generation ahead of me, he said, well, that would be rude to have someone criticize her, distinguished speaker. I said, well, wait a minute. That's why we're here, right? We're not here.
No. You're at the no. Your job is to fucking educate young adults. Your job isn't actually like join a fucking debate club, asshole.
Civility should be part of it. We do, of course, but we're here for robust challenges, and there's nothing
like
wrong
if you're
with
doing academic work, the criticism and all that's going to come in the peer review. if you're publishing things.
Kind of respect to show it.
Yes, that's right. Civility has to allow for that, strong disagreement. But without the distracting personal invective, ad hominem argument.
But you made ad hominem. He already he engaged in the ad hominem fallacy earlier by suggesting that the problem with the university is that people are liberal or too lefty or whatever, and that's like, well, you're wrong because you're this. It's not like you're wrong and you're too liberal, which is not the ad hominem fallacy. And again, I mean, I've spoken to many people I disagree with, and I've told people that I think they're crazy. I'm not like, you're crazy because you're from Nevada or some shit like that. That's dumb.
Arguments of authority and so other distractions from the overarching goal of understanding the world that is the truth.
And so when we think about HXA and the communities that we're building, we talk to our leaders to think of themselves on these across three terms. So we want them to be experts about open inquiry, exemplars of open inquiry, and advocates of open inquiry. And we think of those as kind of stage evolutionary process. So our idea is you don't hook the academics who you want to have meeting your communities, your canvas to councils by trying to get the advocates out there first and foremost. Some of them will be effective, but that's also a certain personality type who wants to go out there and challenge people. But rather, the first and the easiest step perhaps is to encourage people to be experts, to become experts. And so the experts, then exemplars, and then more perhaps publicly they can advocate that. Does that resonate with you? Is that how many you said a few minutes ago about?
Well, you know what's crazy? And then people I know who are experts on things are going to be the first one to tell you that they're not an expert. Like, people with like real expertise tend to be kind of humble, because once you have expertise, you know what you don't know.
Out there, you didn't say bang pots and pans, but that's kind of what I heard you say. You're not trying to get rabble rousers. You're trying to attract people to seriousness who want to learn more about open inquiry, who want to renew the tradition. Is that?
Yes, and absolutely.
At the Center of Academic Pluralism here in New York, we do
what did they cut out there?
Seminar where residential fellows and visitors come together to talk about issues of open inquiry. In today's session, Steve Pinker came and talked about his new book manuscript called "Don't Go There: Common Knowledge and the Science of Harmony, Hypocrisy, and Outrage." We just finished that conversation, you and I. Can you tell?
Oh, don't go there. A story of Steven Pinker when you mention his friendship with Jeff Epstein. Ooh, don't go there, girl.
Common knowledge is how it plays into this.
Yes, common knowledge, in the sense of that I've been studying it, I'm writing about in my next book, is a technical concept from logic and game theory that refers to everyone knowing that everyone knows something, which is logically and in many ways different from merely everyone knowing something. So
it's social. It's deeply social.
Yes, it's social.
So we have to steam it.
Yes, it is social epistemology in the sense that you are aware of other knowers and you know what they know. So, and in particular, ad infinitum, you know what they know about what they know about what others know or what others know. It sounds like an exotic concept, but I have argued that it corresponds to our gut intuition that something is public or out there, that the difference between something that is whispered about on the QT or hinted at through euphemism and innuendo and something that is blurted out, that's in your face, that everyone knows about. And a lot of phenomenon in economic and political life are driven by common knowledge, like our conventions, like using paper currency, driving on the right, are all things that work out because we can expect everyone else to expect. Everyone else expects to obey that, like driving on the right. But what if somebody thinks we shouldn't drive on the right side of the road? Accepting a piece of paper in exchange for something of value, you do it because you know other people will in turn accept it. Why would they do that? Because they know that other people in turn will accept it. Unless you have hyperinflation, where common knowledge that it's valuable is challenged, and then they become beasts of paper all over again, worthless. So that's an economic phenomenon, and I suggest that it underlies a lot of our interpersonal social phenomena. It's why we use so much euphemism, innuendo, connection with dots, between lines, rather than blurting something out when we want to prevent something from becoming common knowledge. We know that other people know it, but we don't know that they know that we know that they know it. That often preserves social relationships. And it also drives cases where people can collectively recognize that something exists or is a problem and act together to deal with it.
So it also allows for so common knowledge allows for cooperation, coordination.
It is what is necessary for coordination, defined as people making complementary choices that benefit them both.
So common knowledge can have dark sides and bright sides. Can you connect common knowledge to phenomena?
I know that's like it's a not germane to what they're talking about. But these people think that the signal chain for your microphone and the associated digital signal processing is common knowledge, and so they just kind of did whatever, and now they sound like they're having this discussion in a fucking aquarium.
Non-common knowledge to cancel culture.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the shaming mobs that result in cancellations, either by pressuring a leader to accede to the mob and make the mob go away by canceling the person that has caused the outrage, and the what happens to the person who's being canceled, and everyone knows they're being canceled, come from the fact that norms in a community are knowledge and they're enforced by common knowledge. That is, there's some things that you decent people so don't do. That only works if everyone knows it, that everyone knows that it knows it. If someone reaches that norm, particularly in public where it's common knowledge, they insult a racial minority, they violate a sexual taboo, then that challenges the norm if it's done in public. That is, it's common.
Oh, yeah. Being insulting a racial minority just for being a racial minority, or like, violating a sexual taboo. I mean, with consent, all things are fine as long as, people are capable of consenting. But in this case, I think you just mean sexual harassment. Well, yeah, it's kind of common knowledge that you don't sexually harass people. And that, like, I used to think it was common knowledge that you shouldn't be a racist, but I'm starting to have my fucking questions about that one at this point.
Knowledge, and it sparks the need to punish it, to safeguard the norm. And the punishment also has to be common knowledge, so that that everyone knows that it has been punished, and therefore the norm it survives that breach. And so in academia, we have, unfortunately, a number of beliefs that become moral norms. That's not what we're in the business of doing, is making it moral.
But these aren't like academic, like the things like a lot of this stuff is just like how you behave at work. I'm telling you, this is just all down to like, well, I'm a tenured professor and I shouldn't have to behave in a fucking ethical way when I go to work. That's like at the fucking very bottom of a lot of this. And I think that academia needs to fucking, just as a broader like cultural thing, that academia needs to disabuse itself of that. That is not true. Like, if you're a professor and people don't like you at work, you suck at your job.
Some factual matters are immoral to leave other factual matters. What's true is true. The truth can't be racist. But we have slipped into a norm system that depends on affirming certain factual beliefs, triggering this urge to punish people who challenge it. Now, this very human response.
And by the way, challenges means ask a question. Ask a question.
I mean, it could. But in the case of what we call cancel culture, it doesn't. What it means is censoring the expression of the opinion, punishing the person expressing it. So this whole dynamic.
The other thing they're mad at is they're just mad at my mom when I was 8 years old, and she was like, "Hey, did you know that you shouldn't say everything you think, you idiot?" They're also mad at her.
Social norms by collective punishment runs afoul of the norm of challenging beliefs in order to find out which ones are true or false. because some of the beliefs he challenged may be ones that are symbolic talismans or moral talismans in a community, such as that it used to be that men and women are indistinguishable, that we're all like slaves, but all sex was just come from socialization. Someone bizarrely,
I don't think people think that.
We now have a different one, that there are no such thing as men and women, that they're nothing but the stereotypes that the last generation tried to eliminate.
Well, no, but the stereotypes of the last generation will say it has its thumb on the scale. Like, yes, it had the thumb is on the scale there.
There's someone who wears long hair and a dress, and that being a woman has nothing to do with chromosomes and hormones and gametes,
which is the set of issues that Carol Rubin and others have had such difficulties with.
But like, what if I don't care about those things? Like, legitimately, what if I don't care? What if I'm just like, well, this person, to me, first impression, I don't even know. What if I don't care about their gametes or their fucking chromosomes? What if I'm just like trying to be cool to people, and then if I misgender somebody, they can just correct me, and I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm like, I hope you don't have to remind me again, because I know that it's not cool. And then if they have to remind me again, now I feel dumb, right? Now I feel like an asshole. And what if that's fine? That's how society works.
In the seminar just now, we were talking about cancel culture and the connection to common knowledge. Let me just turn it as we close here. I want to invite you to think with me about
as you're closing.
Common knowledge, harnessing common knowledge for the cause of academic freedom on campuses. Is there a way to build a culture of? Let me try to formulate this. I'll need your help to formulate a common knowledge culture of academic freedom, on the idea that there's a common sense understanding what a university is. I know what it is. You know what it is. I know that you know.
I think that they don't know what it is. They think it's a debate club, and it's not. You're educating young adults, mostly young adults, but older people my age and older are at universities too, and they do fine. It's not a debate club. Friendo, join a debate club.
It's this thing as a special place where you come to have conversations and to learn and to grow and to experiment. Is it possible to use some of the common knowledge machinery and insights to help us think about how to reform these universities? But what do you make of that?
I think so, in the sense that there are a lot of the cancellation campaigns seem completely innocent of the very idea that there is a virtue of academic freedom. Just doesn't, it's self-evidently doesn't occur to them. Otherwise, they think twice, so at least they would justify it in terms of why the cancellation outweighs the value of academic. Case didn't even do that.
But this assumes that nobody considers that. That is, nobody basically that nobody thinks about. Well, is this really a battle that I would like to pick? I think people think about that. Yeah, I think people generally, is like in academia too. I mean, these are people who they're academics. I think part of their job is to know how to pick their battles. And the students, some of them are 19 and maybe they don't know how to pick their battles yet. So fucking what? Your job as a professor is to set a good example and to educate them.
Well, academic freedom just isn't out there as a concept. So just making that, it made me futile to get everyone to sign on to it as a supreme value. But at the very least, they'll know that it is widely held. It is nominally what universities are committed to. Therefore, if they're going to try to float it, being better articulated their reason, which in the past they haven't done. I mean, most often you can't do it, and so why they haven't done it. But in addition, they haven't done it because it hasn't occurred to them that it's an idea out there that has to be acknowledged. So I'm just interested in this idea that we could try to think about. I basically say we care about culture, academic culture, but not just having free speech rights, important, those are on campuses, but also building the habits of mind, the kind of policies that encourage these ways of thinking. Are there ways does the council at Harvard, for example, have on its agenda or its radar screen
the idea of trying to change the culture of Harvard over time, slowly. Do you have any thoughts about that?
It's obviously harder to do because a culture is a grassroots phenomenon. It's a wiki anyone can contribute. It has a network effect. Sometimes things can ripple freely and become viral.
But institutions matter. Institutions and other policies or institutional changes that might support the kind of culture, the kind of common knowledge culture that we might like at a place like Harvard.
Yeah, so there certainly are policies.
The problem with common knowledge is everybody thinks they already know what it is. I don't know what else to say here. I think that people think that common knowledge is just that everybody knows it. It's sort of like common sense. And it's like, wow, well, you're just like sort of projecting your own view of the world onto this idea of common knowledge or common sense. Because how else are you going to do it? You're going to poll everybody?
And I think they can give a nudge to the culture. Policies like we're advocating at the university to adopt the Calvin principles from the University of Chicago.
These are the principles of university neutrality.
Yes, Calvin with a K. We would like the university to get rid of mandatory diversity statements at the end of job applicants, which can serve to either turn a whole generation.
You're just copying, and people just copy and paste that shit. Shut the fuck up.
Of job applicants into liars, or weed out anyone who disagrees with a certain narrow orthodoxy.
You simply don't force political speech.
Exactly. I mean, now, and what happens is now that post-ops that on the job market are getting
but diversity and inclusion statements include like things like, I won't discriminate against people, and I will try to include all different kinds of people. And in fact, the diversity and inclusion statement probably talks about viewpoint diversity. I would guarantee that it does.
Diversity statements. So at least that way, they'll have to feel guilty about actually composing something they don't believe in. That's another policy. But you're right that not everything can be done by policy. Some things have to be done by
podcast,
evolutionary changes in the culture, which are difficult to engineer from the top down.
Yeah, that's when we talk about our leaders of the Canvas Community Network being experts, exemplars, and advocates, kind of in that directional way. And that's what we're really thinking about. And the power of a professor to show young people by his or her manner in the classroom. Yeah, the way they go about interacting with fellow professors in a debate or in their writings.
But the professors that are, when was the last? Like, I'm sorry, I was at Berkeley for undergrad and grad school, and political science. I don't think I remember any time going to a debate between two of the fucking professors. Anybody else? University in the humanities or political science here to remember doing any of that? That being part of your experience there? I don't remember it. Do you remember it? I don't think it's part of the fucking experience.
The kind of example that we hope will shine through and compete with the existing example, the existing paradigm, the existing culture, which is just seems so denting to so many students because it just is an avoidance of conversations. It's a closing down of questions you would like to ask and know that you can ask. We hope that there could be competition in that fact.
And that is a rewarding goal. It's something where you will get results overnight, presumably. It is as with all cultural changes, sometimes it can creep in a bit at a time, and then simply I take over. So
let me just say for HXA, we're just watching with great interest, as many people are, with the council's activities at Harvard as you grow and develop. We're just so happy for you for having launched this. And I just want to thank you for joining me on Heterodox Out Loud today.
It's been an honor. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to talk about cancel culture and Steven Pinker real quick, if that's okay with everybody. I usually close this out and say a little something. Steven Pinker is one of the most uncanceled person in the fucking world. This dude wrote an expert opinion of some kind for Jeffrey Epstein's first trial. No problem there. I don't care if it's for the defense or for the prosecution. You have a right. That is part of the process of a criminal case being adjudicated. No problem there. After that, he decided to hang out with the guy. There are pictures of him and Lawrence Krauss all fucking cheesing with Jeff Epstein after he was involved in the first prosecution of Epstein, where Epstein was convicted of sex crimes with minors. And it wasn't like you just happened to be at a ball or something that Epstein was at. Like, there's tons of people like that where I'm like, well, whatever. You just went to like a social event in fucking Manhattan and Jeff Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell happened to be there. You probably didn't even know they were on the guest list. You may not have even been aware that they were there at the time, and you may not have even been aware of what was going on. That's different than posing for photos after being involved in a fucking criminal trial where the guy was convicted of what Epstein was convicted of. And then he was not really scrutinized by his university at all for that behavior, which I find to be crazy. Absolutely fucking crazy that there was no scrutiny from his university about that. You know that people talk. So I bet there'd be people talking at Harvard, especially around the time that Epstein did or did not kill himself. I think he did, but that's not what I'm talking about here. This is not a canceled man. This is the opposite of that. This is a man with a platform and privilege whose behavior is abhorrent. Absolutely abhorrent behavior. So abhorrent, I think he knows that it's abhorrent behavior, because if you bring it up on Twitter, he will block you immediately. As far as I know, he's never made any statements about it, never apologized for it. And again, it wasn't like he was just taking grant money from the motherfucker and then ignoring him otherwise. There was a recent memoir of somebody who was at the island, who was referred to a Harvard professor who was swimming in one of the pools at Epstein's Island. Only referred to the person by first name. People were like, well, that can't be Stephen Hawking. And I'm like, oh, I think I know what Stephen that was. I think it was Steven Pinker. Nobody else seems to have picked up on it. There are other professors named Stephen at Harvard, but none of them I know of that were buddies with Mr. Epstein. So this is not a canceled man. This man is disgusting. He's a fucking disgusting person. And it has nothing to do with his academic work. And the University of Harvard, it is a disgrace to their university that they continue to associate with this man. And that's the end of the intellectual Dollar Tree. Live viewers, stick around. And thanks for kind of putting up with some of the internet problems we had tonight. We started an hour late. I appreciate that. Podcast viewers, you have no idea what I'm talking about. Or podcast listeners, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But we did have some technical difficulties tonight. And I just want to say, podcast listeners, whether you love this show or listen to it because you hate us, and especially the live viewers, fucking thank you so much. Still having a great time doing this, and it's a privilege to be able to continue to do this and pay my bills doing it. This is Boomers. This is by Periscope. I'm going to change the colors of the lights in this room, change the contents of my beverage, and we'll be back with the post game.
You recall Hey,